Hi, welcome into the Blueprint, and want to kick off this episode by wishing you guys a Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays. We are recording this on the 22nd, so you guys, I'm sure you will be watching this around the holiday season. We really appreciate your support. All we want from you for Christmas is to hit that like button, especially hit that subscribe button.
We are way up there. We are way up there. We are like 11,000. It's getting there, man. And I'm so appreciative. That's like our holiday gift. It was my birthday gift. Now it's our holiday gift. Just keep on pressing that button and send to your friends. It's been really cool getting a chance to spend all this time with you. And like we talked about, we're gonna be here for the long haul. Yeah. Like just because it's off season, like when that game is done, when they play Texas, we're still gonna be here after. And then after. So just make sure you keep on staying tuned. I mean, it's been really cool.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed it, man. And I've learned a ton about the quarterback thought process and just seeing the game through your eyes has been great. I know a bunch of the viewers feel the same. And, we call ourselves the Blueprint. Unfortunately, with this coaching hire, Dev, I don't know if there is a blueprint, to be honest with you. I've been trying to figure out what the blueprint is, and there doesn't seem to be a clear, defined one. So let's catch everybody up. Let's just go top down right now. Michigan as an interim president. That is just something that has to be considered in this process. Ward Manuel, Biff Poggi came out in his presser and said Ward Manuel told the team that he wants and expects to name a new head coach before the bowl game. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen 100%, but that is what Biff echoed from Ward. Now, let's catch you up on the two main hires that everybody wanted and thought was going to happen. Some reported it as if it was a done deal. DeBoer, the head coach of Alabama, they had a crazy comeback against Oklahoma. That looks extremely, extremely unlikely. I'll never say impossible because it's college football. And then Dillingham, a lot of cryptic conversation, and then he signs an extension to Arizona State. And he said he never got an offer from Michigan. But I would encourage everyone to just take everything that's said in the public with a grain of salt. Okay, there's a little game that gets played here. I'm a big fan of Game of Thrones, and I think there's some politics that gets played when it comes to media conversations. So that leaves us with a ton of uncertainty here, Dev. Jedd Fisch is still in the hunt, but it's reported that maybe that is not the case. Biff Poggi, I think you and I have both been outspoken about how we feel he deserves an opportunity to continue pitching himself as the correct
Wait, did you get your face ripped off for it too? Did you? I didn't know that you said that. Off. You got your face ripped off for that, huh?
Ripped off, yes.
And you know what's so cool about the being antagonized and called, oh, this guy doesn't know anything, blah, 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 saying all this stuff. You know what's really cool about that? Nobody presents any other solution.
No.
I love a guy like that's just I've never been that
exactly
person.
Right.
And I work with all these young kids. Obviously, I just finished and we always talk about being a great mountain climber, right? Understanding that a great mountain climber, it doesn't matter the mountain. If you're good at climbing mountains, and we look at mountains as like problems, right? If you're a good mountain climber or a problem solver, no matter what the problem is, no matter how big or small, once you get to the top of the mountain, you understand that there's just another mountain. It might be big, it might be small, it might not be anything you really have to worry about. But the fact is, you're a great mountain climber. You're a great problem solver. I just love people who have all the problems, no solutions.
Yeah.
Right? So a solution is presented. Oh, you know nothing. You know nothing. And it's like, well, I guess.
Yeah. And it's funny. Coming from Michigan fans. That's the thing. We're so-called Michigan fans. And I wanted to kind of
dive have no answers.
No answers. And I want to dive into this with you, Dev, because, what I can't stand is the main counterpoint people make when it's Biff, or even I saw this with Jedd, is they just throw out the record. Hey, Biff was blah, 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 blah at Charlotte. Jedd was blah, 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 blah at Arizona. And I say, you have to consider the context when it comes to college records, okay? Biff, if and whoever were to become the head coach at Michigan, you're dealing with a whole different level of resource and talent advantage. But two, and I'll just be quick here because I want to hear why you like Biff. Biff, when Penn State was pitching for Terry Smith, and he bleeds Penn State. And this happens with interim coaches. It can be seen as a feel-good story, and it says a lot about the way the locker room feels about their interim head coach. There's loyalty, there's love, and I do think that's important. But that can't be the only reason why you make a decision. Okay, and I don't think you're saying this, and I'm not saying this. No one should hand Biff the head job because it's a feel-good story.
Because they like him.
That's not, but let's consider the entire context of what I just said, where the program's at, who Michigan went after and fell short in. And then let's consider realistic options going forward. If Biff is the right person for the job, then you give Biff the job, whether that's short term or long term. And I think, Dev, the difference between so-and-so that's an interim head coach and Biff is Biff's relationships. Most interim head coaches, especially that are trying to be a first-time head coach,
they've been just position coaches. They don't have a Rolodex of guys they can.
And Biff has a great relationship with Nick Saban, with Jim Harbaugh. We saw it on game day. He was a legendary high school coach in Baltimore. His name and his word is as solid as gold from coast to coast.
Yeah.
I believe Biff could fill out a very, very competitive staff. And that's the thing that people aren't considering here.
Let's stop at the high school thing too, because this guy's a high school coach. Hey, everybody, guess what? The number 4 team in the country, that's what everybody said about their coach.
Yeah.
Joey McGuire.
Or Signetti.
Joey McGuire. Oh, sorry, guys. Also, Signetti was maybe not a high school coach, but a very lower level coach at a point.
The principles matter.
It's interesting just to hear all the issues and no real solutions. And obviously, there's no way I'm going to give my solutions on Twitter. Come on, guys. You got to come to the blueprint. Right? So now.
That's right.
Right? I know you have your reasons, but I'll just kind of dive into a lot of the reasons why I think Biff should be the coach. And am I saying Biff should get a 5 to 10 year deal? No, not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you're the University of Michigan, this all happened at a terrible time. Let's be clear. It all happened at a terrible time, and the people to blame are not the university anymore currently, right? Or the person, if you will. And so in this position right now, it is a completely sped up process. And you know what a sped up process does, where you don't do your due diligence entirely because you can't. It's not like Michigan is not able to do their due diligence. They can't because there's just not enough space and time. When you don't do that, you end up hiring somebody that you really didn't vet completely. You really don't like. You actually aren't going to get the guys who you actually wanted, right? That's a fact. We know that. The guys that you wanted, you're not going to get those guys. So now you're going down your list and you're making a hire almost impulsively to say we hired a football coach. Then that guy comes in, and I don't know who he might be, and the players, they don't really love him, right? They don't believe in what he's going to do. So you lose a really good roster, a really good roster. You got a really good recruiting class too. And I don't know if anybody's following recruiting. Not a lot of guys are saying, I don't want to go to Michigan anymore. Why not? I don't know. You guys figure that out on your own. But you go and you do this sped up process and you hire a coach, and then you don't like him, then you fire him, and then you go again. Like, you know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle. Whereas if you hire Biff, you got familiarity. It's been made clear by a number of meetings that the roster will stay intact, right? And I think I know that as a fact, that the roster will stay intact.
I know that. I can back you on that.
It's very transactional in today's college football. So a lot of the recruits are not necessarily committing to coaches. They're committing to money, right? And they like the money they're going to get, and they like the roster and the university, and that block M means something. So those kids usually are going to stay. And then you move forward. And if Biff does amazing, now you look like a genius. Like, hey, we saw it, right? Joey McGuire, everybody's laughing at Texas Tech. They were laughing. I remember, even my own partner, and he's not going to like this. He probably won't see it. He's not on social media. But Eric Collins, I remember doing a game. And he said out of his mouth, this isn't high school anymore, Joey McGuire, because of a decision Joey McGuire made. And I backed Joey McGuire right after he said it and said, actually, I think this is a great call. It works. High school coaches in the state of Texas love me now because I backed their guy. But
smart, yeah.
Everybody said the same thing about Joey McGuire. He can't handle this. It's not enough. And then guess what you gave Joey McGuire? Resources, money. And has anybody watched Texas Tech play football this year? I watched them plethora of times because I had them in my games. Pretty darn good. And that's a high school coach.
And they're well coached.
I mean, as well coached a team as I've seen in college football this season. There's no there's no surprise that they're the number 4 team country. And guess what? They might be number 1 if they hadn't lost the game. And the game they lost, their quarterback wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
Their quarterback wasn't there. And they still almost won that one. So let's be clear. Being a high school coach, that is not a disqualification. Or being a lower level coach, that's not a disqualification. If you're capable of doing the job, you should do the job. You should get a chance to do the job. So with all those reasons, is Biff going to get, like I said, a 10-year deal, 5-year? No, probably. I would imagine not. But guess what? If Biff is going to bring discipline, which we didn't see from our team, if Biff is going to bring an attention to detail, which we didn't see from our team, and I've had conversations with people in the building over these practices, it's a different intensity.
I've heard the same thing.
It's a different attention to detail. It's a different accountability. And if that's what you're getting,
structure.
It's a different structure. If that's what you're getting, moving forward for a year or 2 years or whatever you want to do, as you get a chance to get a full process to find who you actually want as your coach. During the meantime, Biff might be doing well. You never know. I think that that's the right decision to do. This sped up process that everybody's so excited to do, I do not think that's the right thing to do. I haven't been wrong a ton, and I don't think I'm wrong right now. But, Jake, you have your reasons. So those are my reasons. I have more, but, I'll just give you that for now. Jake, what do you got?
I agree with everything you said, and I want to go back to the money thing, too, because, one thing about this is dysfunction that's not an environment that breeds where that boosters want to invest into. These guys are high net worth individuals because they put their money in certain places. In Michigan, especially this past year, was an environment of dysfunction. What Biff has already established is an environment of function, on top of the fact that he is a high net worth individual himself. So when you're writing big checks, you can trust that Biff is going to put that money to good use. Now, as far as the high school coaching goes, it's a very simplified way to look at it, to be like, this isn't high school anymore. But the other possibility is also true, which is when you're dealing with high school kids, there is an even further premium on being a good teacher. There's even a further premium on building a strong culture because they're high school kids. You're even further limited with resources, with time, with talent, all of that. So you have to be very, very creative on your messaging, your scheme, all of that stuff. And what Dev just said, and I've heard the same thing, is the practices in the meetings at a time where Michigan is dealing with a lot of adversity have actually increased in their focus, their attention to detail, their discipline. So I don't think no one here is saying hand Biff the job, but you have to consider the fact that, hey, you can't overlook him either just because you want to go sign a big name coach to make the fan base happy. Give Biff a chance to interview, which he has done. And he has done multiple times, pitch his vision for the future. And all of a sudden, like Dev said, you give Biff a chance to earn this long term while also going out there and exploring other options starting in January rather than starting in December when a lot of potential candidates have been signed. So it's crazy to me that people would discredit, especially considering what Biff has done for the university. Like,
of course,
how soon do we forget post-COVID when those articles were being written? And I believe Jim Harbaugh even said himself, like, I got to give a ton of credit to Biff Poggi for what he has meant to this program. I think that means a lot to these players.
And Biff Poggi has coached a lot of football. He's played football. He's a football guy, right? Let's be clear about that. But I'm going to be completely honest here. How much does that matter in 2025? How much does it matter? Because a lot of what you do as a head coach, and I've met with a lot of head coaches, I'm sure as you have too, who have made it clear, I don't even get to coach ball anymore. It's 10% ball now. Because I got to meet with donors. I got to make sure I meet with kids to make sure I can't really talk ball as much with them. I got to make sure that they're not leaving. I got to do all these different things. The job of a head coach in college football is totally different than it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, especially 20 years ago, right? And so I believe there will be a shift in guys who obviously are ball guys, right? They know ball, but that are businessmen, CEOs that understand how to deal with relationships and different things like that. And when you put it that way, Biff feels like the perfect guy for the job Because this is all about relationships right now, retaining your roster, making sure the guys are ready to go. This is all about business, making sure to allocate money in the right places and know who gets paid what to make sure this team can perform at its optimal level. Right at this moment, I don't think there's a better way forward. He's a businessman. He's proven that. He's got relationships. He's proven that. He has attention to detail that he can relay to his team. We talked all season about how the lack of attention to detail in a number of different cases has held this team back. We talked about that. And all of a sudden, it feels like that has been removed. Now, will we get a chance to see it? Absolutely. They play a game very soon. And we'll get a chance to see versus Texas, has some of those things been cleaned up? And if they are, what are we talking about? It's always better to have a much longer time and be the one team that's looking for a coach if Biff cannot do the job in the next season. Having that much time to really vet guys, really get the guy that you want. How is that a bad thing? I just don't get it. I don't get it.
It isn't.
But guess what? I'm not crazy, so I'm not going to try to understand crazy people who just say things and don't have any solutions. I'm a solution guy, and I feel like I found a really good solution.
I want to say one more thing here too, Devin. Get your thoughts on this, because I look at Stignetti's ability to turn around Indiana, Dan Campbell's ability to turn around Detroit, Ben Johnson's ability to turn around Chicago, and I think some of the common denominators are they've created a true meritocracy. Like those guys are leaders that are so sure of who they are as human beings, as leaders. They have a very clear vision for where they want the program to go. And I think the number one thing Michigan needs to get rid of right now is politics. You know, secrets get built and dysfunction fosters when there's politics because people suddenly are worried about their own interests. A guy like Biff, I think one of the biggest strengths is he doesn't need a check from Michigan. He's not there for his ego. Biff is so much more than a good story. One of the big things I've heard in terms of practice is what you've said is creating an environment of accountability, of
competition,
systems, a true meritocracy, of competition, where if you are not doing what you're coached to do, we don't care about your talent, you're out. We're putting someone in to win because this is Michigan. There is a standard to uphold. Stignetti has done exactly that. That's the reason he's turned around. You know, you look at their
Indiana. Come on, guys.
He has
Indiana
a system that he holds the players to.
Indiana's the number one team in the country, Jake.
But what happens is
wow.
Another really well coached team. You know, another really well coached team. And I think what happens is sometimes when people get jobs, they hold it so tight that they get worried about the wrong things. Whoever it is needs to be a leader that says, I understand what winning looks like, and I will hold myself to that standard first, my entire organization to that standard next. And I know what you've heard. I've heard the same things. That's what's being done in Schembechler Hall right now, which means Biff is absolutely worthy of consideration. I want to pivot, Dev, because of the names that have been considered, Jeff Brohm is another name that's come up recently. And you made some excellent points about what is your thoughts of the fit of who Jeff Brohm is a great coach.
I think he's outstanding. I think he is.
For Michigan.
So I think Brohm is outstanding offensively, right? Defensively, it's more to be desired. Let's just put it that way, right? And that's just not what Michigan has been. Would Jeff Brohm be outstanding for Bryce Underwood? I can tell you what, there won't be 6 weeks in a row of Bryce Underwood not having the proper footwork to go along with the concept. I can tell you that for a fact, right? And if all we want is for Bryce Underwood to be better, right? We don't know what his ceiling is, but for him to be better, if that's all you want, then I think that it'll be a home run. I think it'll be great. However, how often do we see Michigan fans complain about everything, right? So I remember a time when Coach Rod came in with the offense that Ohio State ended up winning the national championship with. I just had to throw that out there because everybody said the spread can't work. It just can't. We're doing this. We're doing too much. Doing this, doing that. And you fire Rich Rod, and in comes Urban Meyer, who runs the spread and wins the national championship, and actually doesn't lose a regular season game for the first 3 or 4 years. So I've already seen the story of an offensive coach coming into the University of Michigan who hasn't really been in Michigan and doesn't understand Michigan and how everything works, and being run out because though the offense is performing well, they just don't like the way it looks. They don't like it. Now, the defense wasn't playing well with Coach Rod as well. However, it was more, this is not our type of guy. And I can tell you right now, as a person that is an alpha and understands how alphas work and I've covered Coach Brohm for years, alpha in every sense of the word. He's an alpha. He's an alpha, and it's going to be his way. He's going to win football games the way he wants to win football games. So all the intrusive thoughts of the regions and all these different, I don't think, personally, this is my opinion, I don't think that he will be comfortable dealing with that. And honestly, if he gets the job, I don't think he will deal with it. And then everybody's going to be all upset and try to run him out. That's what I believe. That's what I believe. That's my opinion. But as far as offensive football, I think he's outstanding.
So that's the thing here is it's so much more. And this is for better or for worse when it comes to Michigan. It's more than just, is this guy a head coach, period? Is this guy a fit for the vision for the program? And you'd have to rethink top-down leadership. Someone even above the head coach would have to say, we're willing to pivot from who we've been historically to allow this to happen. And I think if Michigan even wanted Coach Brohm would have to be willing to, or at least ask himself, am I willing to adapt? And what Dev is saying is what I also know to be true is Jeff Brohm is Jeff Brohm. And Jeff Brohm has been proven his system has been proven to work. The defensive side of the ball is a big question because I think, in order to win at Purdue and create upsets, you can't prioritize defense. You're never going to win. That's why Ryan Walters, it looked the way it looked. There's a certain scheme that's required to win at a high level at Purdue and now at Louisville. It's a completely different scheme than what would be required to win at Michigan. So there's a pivot that has to happen there. Another name, I want to go through two more names real quick. Whittingham from Utah. Do you have any thoughts on, is that a potential hire? Does the age concern you? Do you think it's a possibility?
I certainly think the age concerns me, not to mention no footprint on this side of America. And also, he is an old school guy. I mean, he's older. Was he 66? Something like that? He's an old school guy, and he's going to do it his way. Again, this is a guy who's going to do it his way, and I don't believe that he has the offensive acumen that you can get with Brohm, right? So if it's going to be two guys going to do it their own way, give me the offensive guy, in my opinion. Now, would you have real structure? Absolutely. You'd have structure. You'd have all those things, but now you're taking a coach who he just had a job. Why is he not the coach of Utah? I don't know. I'm not in the bid. But do you want to hurry up and hire him just because he's available and then not question, well, why is he available? Why is he available?
Because then Michigan becomes second fiddle?
You know what I mean? And it just doesn't seem like a Michigan thing to do. Just hire a guy who is no longer working at the school he's been at for a very long time. Whatever the reason, you guys find it out however you want. I don't care, right? But he's not the coach there anymore with no footprint here in the state of Michigan. Now, saying that, I don't know if the staff right now has a footprint because CJ Carr too. He's playing Notre Dame. But Corey Sadler, CJ Sadler is going to UNC. So I don't know. Maybe there's no footprint anyway, right? So maybe that's something that doesn't matter. But I just think that maybe the game hasn't passed him by. But this job, I think, is past a person that's 66 years old who it seems like he'd probably be retiring soon anyway.
It's to the point of what you said earlier, where Whittingham is a lot of the fans that disagree with you or me about hiring Biff would like Whittingham because he has a history. He has experience. He has won and done less with more at Utah. But that is not the full picture. What Devin just pointed out is the additional layers that have to be considered. And there's even more layers that we haven't discussed that have to be considered when making the hire that you then have to compare with a guy like Biff, who has a lot of things that Whittingham does not have himself. Last name, I don't know if you've thought much about this. I haven't heard a ton of buzz. Jason Eck from New Mexico. And we saw that, they took it to Michigan earlier this year. He's kind of got a Signetti type path. Have you thought at all about him? Do you think that's too big of a jump? Any thoughts on a name like Jason Eck?
What I would think right away is too fast. Too fast. We don't know enough. Haven't been able to truly research, right? I don't know how they go about picking a coach. Do you watch the film? Do you what do you do? What is his philosophy? All these different things. Do you just talk to people? I think that a guy like that, first of all, show it again, right? Show it again, and then you have a whole year to vet. And guess what? He'll be available then. And then this will be Michigan still. And I'm sure he'll take the job then. But to rush it, I just don't understand that. I just don't.
So
I really don't.
It goes back to, hey, this is the advantage of having Biff is, if you hire Jason Eck, did you do your due diligence in 3 days? Are you hiring Jason Eck because he's the best for the job? Or are you hiring Jason Eck because you had your eyes on other places, they didn't work, and now you're scrambling and sped up?
Yeah.
This
isn't the NFL draft
about Bryce. No.
Oh, this is the NFL draft. Oh, all the quarterbacks that we wanted are gone, so I'm just gonna make a guy be a first rounder. Well, now you're screwed. Okay, that's essentially where we are. Oh man, we didn't get Jameis Winston first, right? We didn't get Marcus Mariota. I'm not gonna throw any. I'm not gonna no strays are gonna come.
I got you.
Pick a guy, but let's pick Joe Smith. All right, Joe Smith's a first rounder now, even though he really was a third rounder. But we need a quarterback. Let's just go Joe Smith instead of maybe looking around and finding a really good backup to be solid for a year, or going to find using a guy that's on your roster. I mean, I don't know there's a lot of different options, and it feels like Biff is the quarterback on your roster that you can win with, right? Because he's proven it. He's proven it. He's had opportunities to be the head coach, and he's done a nice job in the games, and the discipline looked like it was there. Now, you'll say, oh, it was against lesser competition. However, we've seen an undisciplined team with another coach against bad teams. So I don't want to hear that. It's just a different vibe. That's what the kids say these days. It's a different vibe. It just is. And that cannot be ignored. So let's not take a quarterback that's really a fourth rounder in the first round just because we need a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think in summary, and we'll take a quick break here and get to the next segment. But I don't think anyone here is saying go hire Biff because it's a good story and the players support him. I think the thing is for Michigan is
that would be ridiculous, and we wouldn't know ball if we said that, Jake.
Ridiculous. Bingo. That would not be that'd be the anti-blueprint.
That would be the anti-blueprint.
Do your due diligence. Consider everything long-term and near-term. And anyone saying that Biff should be eliminated because of Charlotte or because of that you can't consider that opinion. You have to do your due diligence and consider the long-term success of the program. If Biff is the best answer, you make that hire with zero concern about anything else. All right, quick break. We're going to talk about, there is a bowl game to play. We're going to talk about the angle of Bryce Underwood against Arch Manning, and also who's going to be calling plays for Michigan as Chip Lindsey has decided to depart to become the play caller of Missouri. We will talk about that on the other side of the break. All right, welcome back to the Blueprint. Yes, there is a bowl game right around the corner. Michigan will still play. We just told you they've been having strong practices, strong meetings. Everyone's excited to see Bryce Underwood take on Arch Manning. Now, the challenge for Bryce, Dev, and let's start here. He's going to be without the play caller that he's been with the entire season. Chip Lindsey is going to Missouri. Tight end coach Steve Kasula is going to come up, and he will be calling plays. He did it in the spring game. He has been a fast riser in this industry, extremely intelligent, extremely hardworking. But I wanted to get your perspective and experience as a quarterback. How challenging is this? What changes? What should we know or learn about what's going through Bryce's mind on top of everything we already know what's going on?
Well, I think it's going to be a little difficult just because Chip did a really nice job. And we tried to outline it all season of how he was putting Bryce in great positions to be successful. I honestly believe he was dialing it up, and it's evidence of that is the fact that Missouri's like, hey, we saw it. If you really watch the film and you really study the way we have and the way that a lot of different people do, and in the industry, you like to hope that people are studying what he was able to do last year. I think was really impressive, just because Bryce was coming along slowly. But now you have to make sure if you're Missouri, you better get a quarterback coach, because that is not where his strength was. His strength was calling plays to put the quarterback in the great position. But as far as developing the quarterback itself and making sure his footwork and all those different things, because he was he doubled as the quarterback coach. So he has to take credit for this, or, whatever you call something that's not good and you have to take the credit. But Bryce's regression as far as his footwork and different things like that has to also be on the plate of Chip Lindsey. And I don't know what Missouri's going to do, if they're going to have a quarterback coach or whatever. But as a pure play caller, I think he did a really nice job. So for Bryce, I think that is it's really tough, just because I think Kasula is going to do a good job. Like you said, there's not a lot of people that will say a negative word about Kasula personally, but there's also nobody who really will deny that he is a football mind with upper level football acumen. So I think that you'll just have a different style, right? Different voice. You really don't, because working with a play caller, you want to know what's coming. I remember with Al Borges, and I remember when Al Borges got fired, and I hated it because I knew what he wanted. I knew what he was going to call next. He knew what I needed if I was struggling. Like, it was just a good relationship that we had. And in that year, in 2013, if I don't get hurt in the Ohio State game, firstly, I think we beat them. That's the first thing. If I don't break my foot in the game, we're going to beat them. Secondly, we're going to dominate in the bowl game as well, and I'm going to have the best season in the history of Michigan football, right? I'm going to go, I'm going to go over 3,000 yards and all these different things. Gallen's going to have the best season in Michigan football for a wide receiver, and that's our coach, right? That's the offensive coach that had that, and it's because of the relationship we had, and I think it would have been okay the next year, but somebody had to get blamed for us not being great, I guess. And obviously, Coach Nuss was outstanding, right? I learned so much football from Coach Nuss, but with Coach Nuss, it was just a finding a groove. Him understanding me understanding him, knowing what was coming in every single time. And you just didn't have that until late in the season. I had already been benched and all these things had already happened. And then now we were kind of on the same page, but it's too late, right? And so this is a one-game opportunity, and I just can't feel that Bryce will be 100% comfortable with Kasula initially unless these practices are really going insanely great, like how they're describing, and how I kind of, like I said, I've talked to people and it feels like they are, but when that fire is hot and those people on the other side are making millions as well, and they are fast, and they've played in the SEC all year, they played good competition, they understand what it's about, there's not going to be a bunch of surprises from Michigan as far as the talent level, right? They're going to be ready for that. And my question is going to be, if it seems unlikely that Bryce is ready for that after the last time we saw him, right? I don't think these bowl practices, I don't think it's enough for him to get on, not only on the same page with his new coordinator, and also I think that it's kind of been a late kind of addition type of thing, right? Where we didn't know if Kasula was going to be the coach, but now he is, and it's late in the process, similar to the coaching search, right? It's late in the process. So I expect him to play well. I expect Kasula to put him in good positions, but I think the onus has to be on Bryce to understand what this play requires of me. What is the defense doing? What are my answers on the play versus the defense, right? And I think that Kasula's probably doing an amazing job of meeting with him every single day, multiple times a day, to get him to understand that, because if he understands that, now the talent can shine through, similar to the way that we've talked about throughout the entire year, and we've highlighted. There have been spots, not a whole bunch, but there have been spots where you can see this is what he's capable of. This is what it could be. And when we talked to Mac Brown last week, it was clear, like, he saw the same things. Like, there are flashes of, like, oh, okay, this is what it could be. This could be Vince Young, right? Maybe even a little better. Maybe he could, because I think he's just a little more talented passer at the same age, right? A thrower, I would say. He's a much more talented thrower at the same age, and the passing can start to develop. And if he does that, we are looking at Vince Young, right? And the running instincts. Now, Vince Young was another animal. As far as the running instincts, the speed, the power, or knowing when to get, he was incredible. But this young man can be good at that. And if he's a better passer and maybe not as good a runner, I think we settle in a really nice sweet spot, right? So I just want to see improvement, period. I want to see improvement. I'm not looking for him to light it up and throw for 300 or 400 yards. If he does that, that'd be outstanding. But I need to see consistent footwork. I need to see improvement. And I think that Kasula is hammering that fact home along with Biff Poggi to make sure that everything is, how do they say it, copacetic? And you get a real good competition against Texas.
Hey, you've never said this all year. We've never said this. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think, we've talked about this a ton. I think, who cares if it's 300 yards or 400 yards or 5 touchdowns? You and I would rather have 180 yards, but with a flawless, detailed process than
Yeah.
300, 400 yards where you get lucky because you're just
Yeah.
out there, spinning the ball. And I think these bowl games are super interesting because Texas is in a similar position. They fired their defensive coordinator, Pete Kwiatkowski. They hired Will Muschamp. How is that going to affect things? And what I love about this show.
So everything you've watched on film for the fans at home, everything they watched on film, they have nothing. They have no idea what Will Muschamp is going to do, what he's going to call, how he's going to call it. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. For
Trends, tendencies, all of
there are none.
But this is when you talk, you are a quarterback. I am a football player, but not a quarterback. And then our fans at home are not football players. And I think there's a bridge there where I wanted to go back to what you're saying and ask you, when Chip is calling plays, how does this work? Basically, is what I'm going to say is, how can you call plays? Because you're having to evaluate as an offensive coordinator everything: the play, the O-line, the protection, the route concept. How does it affect the defense? How can you do that and coach quarterbacks? Is it impossible, Dev? Like, how does that even work?
It's very difficult. It's very difficult, and you've got to make sure you have a quarterback assistant coach that is essentially really the quarterback coach, right? He's not an assistant. He's actually the quarterback coach, but we're calling him the assistant coach because our coordinator wants to have more money, right? Al Borges, that's you. So and Nussmeier too, every coordinator does it, right? That double title is just a little bit better than just coordinator, right?
Yes.
But you got to have a guy that you truly trust, that understands you and has been with you to make sure that the quarterback's details are intact, because like you said, you have to watch so much film. And for Chip Lindsey, this is how I know he couldn't do anything with the footwork of Bryce Underwood. He couldn't have been, because the way that he called plays, it felt like he knew exactly what the defense was a lot of times and called the perfect play designed to beat that defense. Now, good coordinators call good plays. Yes. They have answers for things that the defense does. Yes. But it was on a far more consistent basis than I thought it would be from Chip Lindsey last year, right? So that means he was doing his due diligence, right? And a lot of times we call it coaching around, right? When Bryce isn't playing well, you got to coach around him. You got to find a way to make him successful. And I think he did a good job of trying to do that. And we outlined a lot of it. We left a lot out, right? We didn't outline every single time where what I'm describing to you was happening, but you got to trust me. This is the blueprint for a reason. He did such a nice job with that. There's no way he's paying attention to the details of the quarterback. He can't. He can't. It's too much. It's too much. So I'm not gonna say it's impossible. I'm not gonna say it's impossible. It's very difficult.
I'll tell you one thing. If it is Biff, here's something that the fans can chew on. If Biff is named the head coach, I can guarantee you there will be a quarterback coach that is outside of the play caller. I can guarantee, you can come back and quote me on that. I would guarantee you that if Biff is hired as the head coach, Bryce will have a quarterback coach separate from the coordinator. So that is something that's really, really encouraging. But, you said this earlier in the show, Dev, as we wrap this, there's a lot of young talent on this team. There really is. There is a ton of potential. It seemed like, progress isn't linear, but it certainly seemed the O-line was playing great football. Andrew Marsh was playing great football.
They're ahead of schedule, in my opinion. They're ahead of schedule. They're 100% ahead of schedule.
For their age. Yes.
Yeah. They're ahead of schedule. They got to play a lot of football that they usually wouldn't have gotten to play. They got to play a lot. Marsh got to play a lot of football. The young running backs got to play a lot of football. The offensive linemen, a lot of football. And I think that bodes well, right? I don't see a negative there. However, if you waste all that and they leave the program, now you got issues.
That's the only way it could be a negative, is if Michigan developed for another program.
All we did was cook a cake and let somebody else eat it.
Devastating. We don't want that.
We baked the cake. We did all that time. We mixed it with the mixer. We put the different ingredients. We looked at it, cooked for a little bit, took too long, so we went and sat down, and then somebody opened it and ate it. What? Why would we do that? I don't think we should do that. I don't think
so either. And I think, this offensive line, if they stick together, and reminder, Andrew Babaloa should be back, a 5-star that was competing for that tackle spot. Andrew Marsh will be a year older, a year more developed. You have the opportunity to hit the portal to fill in some holes. But this offense has a chance to be, especially if everyone stays together, really, really special. And I think this bowl game is just, if nothing else, it's a strong message to everybody, to college football. Hey, you guys, get your punches in now, say what you want. But Michigan is here to make an impact going forward. And I'm really excited to see that, Dev.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a cool matchup, right? You got Arch Manning, the greatest recruit in the history of recruiting in the 2023 class. Remember that? Everybody, he's the greatest. We've never seen anything like it. He's 100% can't miss recruit. And then in comes Bryce Underwood, 100% can't miss recruit, perfect basically and he's gonna be amazing. And he even looked you in your face and said, "Hey, you never seen a freshman like this." Right? So this is like the dream scenario for everybody that loves college football or that loves college football recruiting. You got two of the guys that were basically 100% recruits, right? Where there's no flaws. They will be a pro, period. You get to see them play against each other. And you get to see those guys look across the field and see each other like, hey, you were me and I'm you. And okay, see how this goes. I think it'd be fun. It'll be fun.
Big brand against big brand. You get the added elements of surprise because who the heck knows what it's going to look like with the coordinator changes. But it's going to be fun. We're going to do a show next week ahead of the game. So we will do a full preview ahead of the game.
I'm a flash. I got some notes. I'm not going to show them yet, though. It's some blueprints of now. It might not quite, work out just because they have a new defensive coordinator, but I just want to some things here I just want to show you guys, but we'll wait until next week.
So that's a reminder. Hey, not just like and subscribe. You got to turn on those notifications because Dev's going to give you the blueprint next week. I can't wait. We hope you guys have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Enjoy it with your friends and family. We really, really appreciate you guys for all your support. We will see you next week. And remember, Michigan will prevail. All this drama right now, it'll pass. Michigan will prevail. There's no doubt in my mind. We'll see you guys on next week's show.
One more thing, Jake. I don't think they remember. Just remember, dude. Just remember to do that. Anytime you got issues, just do that. I have it here for a reason. Just go blue, man. Go blue. And please stop yelling at me on the internet with no solutions. I'm just gonna block you. But I love you. But I'm gonna block you, okay? Sorry.
I do have one question. Is that a DG hat? Is that your own brand, or what is?
Guys, it's too many questions, guys. It's too many questions. I can't do this right now. Cut it off, Adam. We're done. We're out of here. See you next week.